Welcome to the Mount Lebanon Minute. I'm Susan Morgans, Mount Lebanon's Public Information Officer. I also have the privilege of serving as staff liaison to the Mount Lebanon Community Relations Board. The Community Relations Board is a 7-member volunteer board appointed by the Commission with the goal of monitoring quality of life issues in the community. With me today are Nancy Carroll, Chair of the Community Relations Board, and Wilma McNeese, the Vice Chair. Hi, Nancy. Hi, Wilma. How are you today?
Good. How are you?
Great. One of the things the Community Relations Board does is to promote neighborly relations. Can you ladies, tell me some of the things you think neighbors can do to be neighborly?
Well, Susan, I believe that one of the best ways to have good neighbors is to be a good neighbor. And this means having respect for the privacy and the properties of the people who live around you. We all know the things that irritate us about how another person maintains their property, their pets, or their children. And I think what we should do is to look at our own behavior and our own property and make sure we're not guilty of violating those things ourselves. For example, as far as taking care of your property, make sure that your lawn is mowed in the summer, that your leaves are raked in the fall, and that the sidewalks are kept clear of snow in the winter. If you have children, teach your children to be responsible with their toys and their equipment, sports equipment, and their bicycles, and not leave them laying around a neighbor's property. Also, if you have pets, you don't want to let your pets run loose, whether it's a cat or a dog. You don't want to leave a dog alone for a long time barking, and you certainly want to clean up after your pet if you walk it. Also, being a good neighbor means more than just taking care of your property. It also means being interested in the people who live in your neighborhood. Get out and talk to one another. Take an interest in what they're doing. Learn the routines and keep your eyes open for things that are out of the ordinary. Also, you want to be sure that you welcome newcomers. Always extend yourselves to people who are new on your street and in your neighborhood.
That's nice. That's something they say is sort of disappearing these days in some communities. I think we still have it here.
I think we do. In my neighborhood, we certainly do. And one of the things that I appreciate most about Mount Lebanon are front porches and sidewalks. They seem to bring people out and greet one another. People sit on their porches and talk. And one of my favorite things to see is a street that has been closed off because there's a block party going on. I feel that the relationships that are made in neighborhoods certainly enrich our lives and the quality of our lives in many
ways. And we have dozens and dozens of block parties every summer. It's wonderful that we do have so many people who are proactively good neighbors. Unfortunately, in a community like ours that is so densely developed, our behaviors can have a negative impact on our next-door neighbors or even people a little more far-reaching than that. Could you be specific about some of the kinds of things that the Community Relations Board ends up dealing with as a result of a complaint from a neighbor?
Sure. It seems to me that a number of complaints that we get focus around what I call the P's: pets, property, plants, and people, of course. What happens with plants is that frequently trees and things are planted along property lines themselves. And the young sapling that was planted inevitably grows into be a large oak that shades somebody's vegetable garden, or the forsythia bushes that were small at one point become overgrown and perhaps block the entrance to somebody's car or their use of their driveway. And then a dispute develops over who should maintain that property. And if one neighbor cuts it back and the other one doesn't like it, then you have a dispute over that. Also, pets are a big source of complaints, particularly animals that run loose and may prove to be a threat or a danger to young children or those who are afraid of them. And if you're not diligent in maintaining your yard and keeping waste cleaned up, or are considerate when you walk your pets, then oftentimes a dispute will arise about that. And then as far as property, what we find is that there are disagreements over how neighbors want to use their property and if their other neighbor thinks that it's appropriate. For example, maintaining multiple vehicles, if there have been old ones that need to be rehabbed, or that you're just storing old boats or things on your property. Also, people leave trash cans out at the curb days beyond the pickup day, or perhaps they store them in a place that is visible from the street, and neighbors object to that. Also, we've had instances where there's just been bullying of children or other neighbors, and let's face it, sometimes neighbors just don't like one another, they just don't get along, and invariably a complaint or dispute will arise, and then the Community Relations Board is called upon to try and resolve it.
And it's important to try to get these disputes resolved early on, because I know, as we've all seen, sometimes one dispute escalates into another, and 10 years later neighbors are fighting and they don't even know what they're fighting about. Wilma, maybe you can address this next question. Before coming to the Community Relations Board, either to speak in public session or requesting a mediation, are there some strategies that you would recommend that neighbors try first?
Yes. I would recommend talking. Talk. If you talk and communicate with one another, that's one of the best ways. It's not unusual to see